Today's episode of DFCS Discourse. As most of you will know, March is National Social Work Month. And before we start, I want to take a moment to acknowledge all of you who in one way or another, directly or indirectly, work to positively influence the lives of Georgia's families. And as I say that, I realize that that's almost everybody in this department at some point or another, regardless of what you do. I also am really happy today because I've got several indicators telling me that we're headed in the right direction as an agency. Let's start with family independence. The number of overdue cases is at the lowest point that it's been in years. That translates to families who are not waiting as long to get the benefits that they need to take care of their family. Last week, for instance, we only had 139 expedited food stamp applications that were beyond the standard. This means that almost all of our most vulnerable and needy applicants are getting their applications handled and their benefits quickly. Our kickoff week of One Caseworker, One Family has been met with positive feedback from customers and staff. I've heard support from all around for the decision to change our business practices from a largely centralized process to one that has more personal engagement and accountability. Calling our customers to let them know that we have their application or renewal and that we'll be reviewing it and working to process it is the right thing to do. I got this feedback yesterday on our Facebook page, and I'll quote, "Who do I contact to compliment an employee in the call center? I've had very frustrating experiences over the last several months, and today I spoke with a wonderful woman who was able to get everything straightened out for me. I would really, really like her supervisor or someone to know what a fantastic job she did." And another one. "Thank you so much, Ms. Lampkin. You've really been a blessing to me and my kids for calling me back." In child welfare, our number of overdue investigations is at the lowest point in many, many months, if not years. We're getting out more quickly to initially assess a child, as evidenced by our improved response times. I just heard on a conference call this morning that we're at 86% statewide. So that means that 86% of the time we're getting out within the required time frame in order to begin the assessment of the child and their safety. I want to give special shout outs to regions 1, 2, 5, and 6 for meeting response times in more than 90% of all cases, and to region 7 who met the statewide standard of 95%. Congratulations, and thank you again for all your hard work. We're also making great strides in documenting our contacts with families and children. Our Every Child Every Month and Every Parent Every Month data is a clear indicator of the quality of the efforts toward reunification and checking on our children to ensure that they're safe. At this point, let me make a sidebar comment. I've said this before, but I want to emphasize it. While I believe there's a focus on the timeliness of investigations, and that's necessary, and that it's had an impact on the safety of our children, because it gets us focused on getting out to assess them quickly and taking prompt action, I want to reiterate that the safety of a child should never, never be at the mercy of meeting a timeliness goal. If somehow you have gotten this impression, I ask you to check yourself and the work that you're doing, and to let someone know if you feel a child is being left unsafe while you're pressured to close a case. I earlier gave out my cell phone number. That cell phone number is listed in our Outlook address book, and I welcome you to either email me or call me if you have concerns of this type, because I need to know about that. We do need to be processing cases quickly, but we never want to go for the expedient at the expense of quality. I want to commend every one of you for your efforts to improve the quality of our work in both family independence and in child welfare. The overall sentiment publicly and internally seems to be it's getting better. In the spirit of continuous quality improvement and creating a learning environment, let's keep up the good work. And while we continue to improve at all levels, keep in mind, customer service is the key in order to live a healthy, happy, fulfilled life. Let me talk for a few minutes about what's going on at the legislature, because I know everyone is keenly watching this. Today is what's called Crossover Day. Crossover Day is the 30th day of the legislative session. Crossover Day is also important because if a bill started in the House, it must complete its course in the House and be voted out effectively to get to the Senate. The same thing goes for a bill that starts in the Senate side, like our Senate Bill 138, our Child Welfare Reform Bill. If our bill does not clear the Senate today, then it is effectively dead for the remainder of the session. We would pick it up again next year. This day, I think we are going to be seeing our bill move. I've been waiting for the notice today that it's been voted on and passed out of the Senate. So I think that's something that we can be very encouraged by. The hearings that we've had have all been of unanimous support from the senators, and the conversations that I've had with other legislators have all been very supportive of the work that we do. There are several bills pending that influence the work of our agency. However, most notably, the FY16 budget, the one that funds our upcoming fiscal year beginning on July 1st, includes an additional $30 million in funds for DFCS. This is the largest increase in our funding that I can remember, or that the staff that handle the fiscal matters for our state can remember in at least 10 years. Senate Bill 138 that I mentioned previously includes the recommendations of the Child Welfare Reform Council appointed by Governor Deal over a year ago, which looks at ways to improve Georgia's child welfare system. DFCS leadership will be working with Casey Family Services, Casey Family Programs, to develop a comprehensive plan for implementing the recommendations of the Reform Council, as well as to address the areas that we need to improve in. We're calling our vision for improving our agency the Blueprint for Change, so you'll hear a lot about that. The DFCS Blueprint for Change outlines high-level, interdependent changes intended to put us on the path toward becoming the best child welfare agency in the world. The Blueprint for Change includes three things. First, robust workforce development that is supported by quality hiring, training, compensation, and retention strategies for staff. It also includes an ongoing investment in staff through mentoring and additional training. The second component is a practice model. It's vital that we identify, adopt, and adhere to a proven practice model that recognizes the connectedness and interdependence of all of our functions and how we perform them, and the family dynamics of those that we serve. We must be deciding on and be clear about our key values and the principles that guide the work, and we're now defining those. This will determine how we assess child safety and family strengths and deficiencies before going forward yet and guiding our case planning. We will also be continuing to evaluate our business processes within family independence as we move toward our implementation of our new integrated eligibility system called Georgia Gateway. Implementation is scheduled for 2016 and will reflect the agency's goals and culture around family independence work. Third is constituent engagement. Constituent engagement is the third component, and it will mean, whereas in the past we've been very quick to roll things out without getting feedback either from our staff internally, especially frontline staff, and from our partners outside the agency. I feel that that has been a mistake. If you've been involved with many of the changes through the years, you'll know that oftentimes we have pushback after we've implemented changes. We want to avoid that by trying to get that feedback on the front end so we can shape the practice that we roll out to the communities and that people will be able to engage with us. You'll be hearing of opportunities to share your feedback and ideas via an established set of email addresses. Hear me, stomp it out, and chat with the DFCS director as well as other forums. I encourage you to give honest, productive feedback without fear of retaliation. I want to reiterate that, without fear of retaliation. Anytime I ask you for feedback, my expectation is that if you give me honest feedback, even if it's something we don't like to hear, that given in a constructive fashion, you have that right as an employee. And we want to make sure that you are protected if you do that. So you have my commitment. If you ever give feedback and there's retribution or retaliation for your having done that, I need to know about it immediately so I can correct it. Additionally, this month you will be invited to participate in a comprehensive survey designed to form a baseline of our agency's current state and establish consensus for where we want to be in the future. We're also exploring better ways to engage external partners, including law enforcement, emergency responders, pediatricians, school counselors and teachers, members of the judiciary, legislators, business and religious leaders, members of the media, and many, many more, as well as the recipients themselves. I will be headed out starting in May for a series of road trips or road shows to engage with multiple partners in a variety of formats to achieve this end. I will be sharing in April more information about the road shows, and I hope that as we travel the state, I have the opportunity to meet and talk to each and every one of you. It's a large group of people, but I love to talk, so that's a good thing. Deputy Director the vision is far-reaching and it will take time. Much more information will be shared as we move forward and as we ask you for your input. In closing, I want to thank you for the work that you do. In honor of National Social Work Month, we want to acknowledge the outstanding work of several staff by naming a Case Manager of the Year. The winners will be named in the coming weeks. And just FYI, Case Manager of the Year nomination form stated in honor of Child Abuse Awareness Month, April. Also, I invite you to continue to send in pictures and statements of the good work we do to our communications section. We've received great feedback on these postings in social media. In my estimation, this is the way that we combat some of the negative media that we've had in the past. People need to know about the good work that you do, and the stories that I'm reading are touching, they are impressive, and they are people that are willing to share their stories so the public can get a better idea of the good work that you do, not just those negative stories that appear in the media. Thank you again, and I hope you have a great weekend and come back refreshed Monday for more of the work that we're doing to become the best agency of its type in the world.